So I'm on my way to work here in Asheville today, driving through the mountains, and I thought it would be a good time to do a little video and share a thought about something that I read this morning in the Bible. I was reading 1 Kings chapter 13. It's a story that you've probably heard a sermon preached about before. There is a man of God from Judah who is known for prophesying against an altar. And the thing about this prophet is he's been told by God, do not eat any bread, do not drink any water, and do not return from the way that you came. So he is approached by someone and says, hey, man of God, come hang out with me. Let's eat and drink. And he says, no, I can't do it. God has told me I can't eat bread, I can't drink water, and I can't return back the way that I've come. Well, there's an old prophet who lives nearby, and he hears about this man of God from Judah, and he goes and he catches up with him, and he says, hey, I want you to come hang out with me. And, he goes on to say, an angel came to me and gave me the word of the Lord and said, you are supposed to come back with me. You are supposed to eat bread and drink water. So this man of God from Judah, he listens to this prophet. And the Bible even says that the old prophet, lied to the man. But the prophet listens to him, and if you're familiar with the story, you know that when he's leaving, just before he leaves, the old prophet, the word of the Lord comes to him, and he says, because you've disobeyed me, you're going to get in trouble, basically. And as the man is leaving, he is mauled by a lion, and he's killed. And the moral of the story is, if God tells you something, then even if somebody else comes along and tells you something different, still listen to God. Now, what's interesting is you can find that in other stories. You can find it in, I thought about Galatians chapter 1, verses 8 and 9, where Paul says, if we or an angel from heaven come preaching any other gospel than what you've already received, then let him be accursed. And what's interesting is Paul says, if we, meaning men, if any man comes along, or an angel from heaven, and notice he doesn't say an angel from hell or a demon. He says, even if an angel comes from heaven and the angel tells you to do something that is contrary to what you've already heard, than what you've heard from God, then let him be accursed. Well, I think everybody gets that story, but people don't get the parallel of what's going on in the church today. We have this Bible, and it's full of commandments and laws and statutes and decrees and things that God has instructed us to do. God says do this, God says don't do that.
Hazard reported ahead. Stay focused.
There's my ways. But then someone else comes along, like Paul, and says something completely opposite of what God already said. Now, disclaimer, I don't believe Paul said anything different than what the rest of the Bible already teaches, but that is how he is understood. Paul is understood to be canceling the dietary commandments when he says things like eat what is set before you and don't ask any questions about it, things like that, which in context we know he's talking about idolatry and other things. So Paul is often cited as, an example of, look, here he is canceling all of God's commandments. Yes, that was a law that God said would last for eternity and be forever, but Paul has come and he has canceled that. Well, if that's right, then how is Paul any different than the lying old prophet from the story in 1 Kings 13? The moral of the story is, if God has said something, God does not change. He is the same yesterday, today, and forever. He says, I am God and I change not. Even the false prophet, the prophet Balaam, who did hear from God, but he was also a wicked man. He says, God is not a man that he should lie, nor the son of man that he should change his mind. David says in Psalms that he's speaking prophetically, I am God, I will not alter the words that have gone forth from my lips. And yet we believe Paul can come along and cancel all these things. Well, we have the precedent from Scripture that if God tells you one thing, and any man, and as Paul himself would say, or an angel from heaven comes and preaches something different, then let him be accursed and do not listen to him. So I don't believe Paul spoke anything that was contrary to what God said. I think he was misrepresented and misunderstood. But even if he did say something that was contrary to something God already established, then we shouldn't listen to him. End of story. Something to think about. Bye.